to each other. And that was some scintillating talk that we just got into there. I am so sorry, folks. Welcome in to Pillow Talk. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. A little bit of a late start because it wasn't late at all. James and I were just talking. We were getting into a nice conversation about, I don't want to get into the hypocrisy of James, so we'll just move on. But suffice it to say, probably our best stuff was just lost forever.
Yeah, and yesterday we played the best song that was ever written. We just didn't record it either. So no, it's just the best one ever.
That's what happens.
Take our word for it.
James, we were talking football because
wait. First off, absence of Kelly. Is she supposed to be here today? You sent her a link. She'll show up eventually. Maybe.
She's invited. She's always invited.
All right. I felt like preseason's kissing your sister. First off, even if you win, you're not really winning anything. But secondly, even if you're losing, you're not really losing anything. Thirdly, those guys that are playing second string, third string, fourth string, whatever, you're not going to see any of them dudes in a month.
Not true at all.
And
not true at all. You got a 53-man roster. That is not true at all. Every year there's somebody. Now you're right. Somebody's going to flash in spring training. We're never going to see him again. But there is also going to be somebody who comes out of nowhere, an undrafted free agent who makes your favorite team, who makes my favorite team, and who may even end up going to the Hall of Fame at the end of his career. So, no, come on. You can't just dismiss all of these guys.
Tom Brady has taken snaps in preseason. I'm not saying everybody sucks. But one of the things that really turned my opinion about preseason was a man called Tony Romo, where Tony Romo for 3 years in a row would rock the balls out of preseason, but he never got to take a snap in the regular season. And then when he finally did get to take a snap in the regular season, because 18 people in front of him got hurt, he ended up rocking balls, and now he sets the record for probably more Cowboys quarterback records than anyone else from the Cowboys history.
Your problem there is with the Cowboys organization's ability to scout talent. It's not with preseason. You should be championing preseason because it was where your boy got a chance to shine.
Well, it's preseason from then on has been an unquestioned abject failure. If you can see what the rest of us are seeing, but it doesn't work out, then what are we even going through this for?
Well, I mean, you don't have to watch it, but there's a way to make money off it because there's a demand for it. People do want to watch it. They do sell thousands of tickets to those games. So they're going to play these. These are practice games anyway. They have to get ready for the season. So why not throw some cameras and sell some commercials? That's what it is.
It's a level of fandom that's up here, and I'm like right here. Like once you get past me, you're the guy that likes the draft. I don't like watching the draft. You're the guy that likes watching preseason.
Love the draft. Love build up to the draft. Never participated in anything even remotely fantasy football related. Love the draft. Love training camp. Love going to training camp. Used to go to training camp when I was younger, stand on the sidelines, watch them in August. Oh, it was awesome. So I don't know. I just, I love the season. I love the build up to the season. I love looking at the new players. I love discovering new players. Every single season, you will discover a new player. You will have a new favorite player this year who is a name that you can't even pronounce right now because you've never even heard it. But at some point, week 15, you're going to be like, how about that Austin Daggers guy? And we're going to be like, yeah, where'd that dude come from? Well, maybe I might see little old Austin Daggers flash a little here in the next week or two in preseason.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in seeing DiNucci. Like we saw him in the regular season last year. Unless he has some sort of big turnaround, he doesn't really have a future other than holding the clipboard next to the assistant coach, So if he's going to suit it for preseason, fine. Someone else go watch that, man. Go.
Well, if you're talking about the Cowboys, I want to watch the second half of every Cowboys preseason game because I want to see what the depth is like on this defense. I need because there's going to be a whole bunch.
You need to know.
Yes, okay. Of course you do. If you root for your team, if you want to be an informed fan,
I know, but if you miss a couple,
need to know.
Yeah. Okay. But here's my discovery. This was my personal experience. If you miss a couple seasons in a row of preseason, you find out you're not really behind the 8 ball so much. You're not missing anything. Miss preseason, then tell me if you really missed anything.
But see, here's what you're missing. I don't want to miss preseason because I like football and I'm excited that it's back. So I'm enjoying preseason. What don't you understand? But that's the bottom line.
Here's my freakish NFL fandom. Doesn't reach the level of the draft or preseason, but every once in a while, NFL Classics will have on a game where it's like the Cowboys versus the 49ers in the NFC Championship in 1993, and I'll be like, damn. I'll watch some of that until I got to go do something else. But if it's a game that I watched when it happened and it was, something awesome, I
Yeah, it
have
was a win.
sat through about half of a throwback game.
NFL Films does a great job. Just remember, James thinks that paying attention to the preseason is a big waste of time, and he questions any man's commitment to his life's priorities.
No, the best
But doesn't
metaphor.
feel the same way about fantasy football leagues. So,
Well, fantasy football is different because you can set it and forget it. You can make your roster and
no,
then just check on it.
Yeah, right. Because fantasy football players don't obsess on that thing 24/7 of every day for the next 18 weeks. Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
Dude.
Fantasy football players are insane.
You can put as much time into it as you want. You can infinitely go through statistics and the back of the baseball card or whatever. But for normal people with busy lives, you might just look at it for maybe an hour a week tops.
But someone can't do that with watching just the first quarter of a preseason game. But you can't.
First quarter of a preseason game. First quarter preseason game is not a waste of time. I will admit that.
We're going nowhere. We're going nowhere. Let's get into a little monologue here. Each and every night we invite James up on stage at the One Per Center Comedy Lounge, high atop the one. Wait, no, this is the Comfort Nest Comedy Lounge, high atop the One Per Center compound. Yeah, you know what? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, James Allen Parker.
Allen.
Yes, James. You can have the floor. Yes.
Yeah, I like that I didn't have to say it this time. All right. Hey, you're a beautiful crowd. Remember, preseason is like kissing your sister. The economy continues to struggle. Pugs, to give you an idea of how bad the economy is, Snoop Dogg is now buying dime bags. Dime bags because he's rich and he likes weed.
That's great. I get it.
Shit, I thought that was a better joke. All right. 2 years after performing a lewd act on himself during a Zoom meeting, CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin has been fired, and it's sad. He ruined his career single-handedly.
Yeah. But James, he took that sabbatical where he was off the air for a couple of months, and then he came back. It just hasn't been in rhythm. He seemed to be beat off. Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding me? Hey, you know what? He's an author and a lawyer. He can always say that when it comes to TV news, he took a whack at it.
I like that. Yeah.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, I just hope he's not in his apartment right now beating himself up too bad.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he had a bigger audience on that Zoom call than he had on CNN.
Okay, all
right. I'm out. I didn't know.
There's James taking it one too far.
Well, if you're going to improv, I'll try to. Over in Germany at Legoland, there's a Legoland in Germany? Why haven't I been to this? 2 trains on the Fire Dragon roller coaster collided, injuring 31 passengers. Not a big surprise, though, since it was unveiled 20 years ago. The ride has seen its share of ups and downs.
I don't even get that.
It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster, share of ups and downs.
Okay. All right. There you go. Now I get it.
Yeah, it's a bad dad joke. You're supposed to not like it. According to a new study, God damn it. According to a new study, 1/3 of American teenagers have not read a book in the past year. Educators are dubbing this trend "keeping up with the Kardashians."
Haven't those people put up with enough? They don't need your.
Yeah, they're probably really smart. Today is Check the Chip Day. Do you even know what that means, Pugs?
I don't.
That's for pet owners to have your pets microchipped. Well, unless you're in China, because then it's a choking hazard.
That's okay. Because they eat animals. Dogs.
It was on this date in history, 1969. Nice. The Woodstock Music and Art Fair began. 32 acts performed to an audience of 400,000 people, many of whom are still tripping. Whatever happened to Wavy Gravy? Did you see the movie? And you got to go to if you had the brown acid, you had to go to the freak out tent with Wavy Gravy. Whatever happened to Wavy?
Man! Yeah, that guy was funny.
And finally, a belated happy birthday to folk singer David Crosby. He had a birthday over the weekend. I don't want to say he's getting old, but his new band is called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Old. And old. And old. Strong finish.
Ohio.
We nailed that one.
Yeah, sure. That was fine.
So still no Kelly, huh?
Yeah, that's all right. There we go. All right, we're back to where we needed to be. Byron's here. Jeff's here. Fast Outdoor Food is here. Adrian.
You see the extra tube and punchlines over there from Jeff and Byron?
No. Where are they? Read them to me. I don't see them.
Well, do you have the Ricochet or whatever? Jeffrey Tubin leaving CNN to expose himself elsewhere. Thought that was pretty good. And Byron says during the whole incident, Jeff Tubin's true self was exposed. Pretty good. Pretty good.
There it is.
Thank you.
All right, we can hide that. Oh, I can't find it.
Where you at, bud?
Me, I'm right here.
Okay.
I'm just trying to fix this. I got did I tell you I'm battling an air conditioning unit that's only working at about, I'm going to say 50%. Optimistically, I'm going to say my air conditioning is working at 50%.
Look, here's what I need to know. What's the temperature in the room you're in right now?
80 degrees.
God dang!
What do you mean? That's normal. My entire life, my air conditioning was set at 78 degrees. 78 degrees.
Monsters. 80. No, not me.
What do you need it? What do you
72?
72. This is why you Texans have rolling blackouts. This is why you people don't have enough electricity. 72 degrees. What's the matter with you? Although, gotta be honest, it does get really hot here. So maybe Texans can, maybe I need to rethink this. Because it does, when it gets to be 110, maybe 72 is all right. You know, I don't know. I'm used to 78.
I'm glad you approve. All right. So I want to, before we get into your story, can I go first?
I don't care. Go ahead. I don't even have a story. I just got a whole bunch of things. Go. Tell me what you got.
All right. So The Sopranos. Like, why would anyone talk about Sopranos? That's a 20-year-old show. You know, that show came out like literally 24 years ago.
You're rebinging it.
I'd never watched it the first time.
Oh, so this is your first time through. So where are you right now?
Episode 9 or 10. Spoiler alert, it was right after the failed attempt on Tony's life from Junior in the first season.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This is gonna go awful, isn't it? But here's something cool. If there's old shows that you never watch, because I'm gonna do The Wire next. In fact, there's a handful of these old shows that I just missed it, man. I was really effed up during most of my 20s. So there's big holes in my pop culture knowledge that I need to fix. And The Sopranos was one of the greatest shows, if not the greatest show of all time. And I've only seen a couple episodes here and there, but I love gangster movies. I love mobster movies.
So you're 10 episodes in. You're sold on it, right? You did this is a good series. Sopranos.
Oh, it's already different than what I expected, because it's not The Godfather, it's not mobsters, it's not Goodfellas. It's that material, but it's covered in a totally different way. And you know, all of them come from basically a first person view. But this is, I don't know. This kind of does.
Every character is fantastic. Every single character in The Sopranos over the course of 7 seasons or whatever. Every single character is so well fleshed out, is so complicated, and yet you feel like you know how complicated they are because you've seen them go. I just think it's one of the, if it's not number one, it's number 2 best television show of all time. I can't say enough about Sopranos. That's why I'm so excited that you're seeing it for the first time. I'm jealous of the experience that you're being afforded right now for the first time.
Well, here is what's cool about it that I think you will appreciate, and probably if anyone else watching the show right now has seen The Sopranos before or saw it back when it was big.
Okay.
Imagine, you know, this is where you were 20 years ago watching the show, probably 23 years ago watching the show. Now, I'm watching The Sopranos, but it's not what you saw. The Sopranos has now become a period piece.
Okay, to an extent.
It was a contemporary show.
There were no apps. There was texting though and stuff like that. You know,
I haven't seen a text yet.
Oh, maybe not yet. Okay.
I have seen someone send a text message to a beeper.
Okay, sure. Late 90s, sketchy, you know, organized.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's 1999 in the storyline. So that's cool. When you saw Sopranos, it was a
Yeah,
contemporary.
if you're watching season 1, it was set in contemporary times. So that would be 1999, before the Twin Towers come down. That's
The
season
Twin
1.
Towers are in the opening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like accidentally, it's not like, remember when we had the Twin Towers, but it makes it a period piece now. When you see the Twin Towers now, you're like, oh crap, what year is this? Right? I guess it must be before 2001. So that adds a layer of coolness to it, because all the cars are old, all the clothes are old, all the technology's old.
What's Tony driving in season 1? He got the big Eddie Bauer Explorer, or is he driving the Escalade? What's he got in season 1?
He was in the red SUV.
It's the Escalade. Okay, yeah. Okay. I think that's the Tahoe. Anyway, he moves around with cars. Tony's always, what's Tony driving this season? So he's like,
so one thing I've always been interested in is like how the 90s and really the 2000s are going to be viewed by future generations, because we've had 1,000 period pieces about the 50s, everything from freaking, Back to the Future to Grease to, Stand By Me. The 60s have been overdone more than any other.
Years. This is how it happens every 20 years.
We are long overdue for the 90s to be period pieced out, because we've already had that 70s show, but we had that 70s show in 1998, just 20 years, not even 20 years after the 70s. Where's my 90s show? We are way, way, way overdue for that. And there's a huge market for it. And there's a bunch of middle-aged people with disposable income like me.
40? Whoever's 40 is who television really wants to go after, because people who are 40 are the ones who are staying home and watching TV. They've got kids. 40 would be people who grew up in the 90s. So that's coming. Don't think it's not coming. It's coming.
It needs to. Yeah. I tell you what else pisses me off is, why do we have all these 60s cover bands, 70s cover bands, 80s cover bands, but there's not a 90s cover band?
Hey, James, I'll tell you this right now. I'm watching a show called, have you ever heard of this show, For All Mankind? It's on Apple TV.
I haven't heard of it.
It's excellent. Okay, so it's one of these revised. It's one of these alternative history shows, which is based on actual history, but it supposes what if this had happened instead.
Like Man in the Tower or whatever.
Exactly like that. Except the premise of For All Mankind is that the Soviet Union landed a team of cosmonauts on the moon in June of 1969, 1 month before the Americans landed in July. So the Russians. So what this series does is it supposes, what if we had lost the space race? How would that have changed NASA? And it moves on from there. And it's now going into its 4th season. And what would have happened? Well, this series posits that it would have kicked the American space program into overdrive, because they would not have just let the moon be the thing that the Russians beat them to. They would immediately have switched their focus to Mars. And this series, suggests that we'd have had people on Mars by the mid-90s if the Russians had gotten to the moon a month before us. So anyways, it's really good. And it uses real people, real historical figures, and it interweaves them and all that. But season 3, which is what I'm watching right now, James.
Wait, so this is set in the alternate 90s.
This is set in the 1990s, where Ted Kennedy became president in 1972. And there's a lot of cool things. Ronald Reagan became president in 1976. And then in 1984, Gary Hart became president. Anyway, it's very good. It's an interesting show. I mean, it's got everybody from Neil Armstrong to Deke Slayton to all the actual astronauts, but it's also got some, fake people mixed in. Anyway, my whole point is I'm watching season 3 now, and every new season takes place 10 years later. So season 3 that I'm watching right now is taking place in the 1990s, and we've already got space hotels and we're on Mars.
Oh, how fun.
So, you're looking for shows that are set in the 90s. Right now, I'm watching a show that's set with beepers and big clunky bag phones and all of that kind of stuff.
So let me go over some of the period piece stuff, because I'm always interested in, at the time, you don't know what the fashion trends are. 20 years, 30 years from now, what are we wearing right now that future civilizations or future generations are going to make fun of? Future TV shows are going to make fun of. We don't have big dumbbell bottoms. We don't have the big wide collar. We're not wearing poodle skirts. We don't have a cigarette rolled up in your shirt sleeve, or what's the time stamp for now?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know. If we did, we'd be fashion icons.
So now we are kind of figuring out what it is in the 90s and sort of the aughts. Because I've always thought, like, well, Jinko jeans were here for about 5 years and then they went away forever. Those dumb Ed Hardy and Affliction t-shirts were here for about 5 years and went away forever. So you can't tell now, but you can start piecing together the 90s and really the 2000s on some of this stuff. But I made a list. I took notes on my phone of some of the period piece items here that at the time when The Sopranos came out wouldn't have been a big deal. You've been like, yeah, that's how we do it. But now it makes it a period piece. When what's the Michael, the younger guy that becomes a captain? He's on his way to being a captain. I can totally tell.
Christopher?
Yeah, Christopher.
Moltisanti?
Yeah. When his girlfriend starts managing a band, remember when she's managing a band? Well, she takes the demo to Hesh on a cassette tape.
Hesh, look at you knowing the characters.
Yeah, so
Hesh represents the entire music industry,
right? Or the Jewish side.
Yeah.
So the cassette tape. If you showed up with the cassette tape, I mean, I could play a cassette tape, but 99% of the households, or maybe even music studios, wouldn't be able to do that. I saw Carmela after chatting with the neighbors at a picnic, or a backyard grilling or whatever, got a stock tip, and so she goes home and she buys some stock. Yeah. Now I go on Fidelity and
Jeannie Cusimano.
Yes, the Coos. Yeah,
that stock tip.
So I buy and sell stock in my IRA, but I log into Fidelity and I just click and it's done. Carmela has to pick up the telephone and call some person and give them the stock I've never bought stock over the phone. Like,
sure. Dude, there used to be like 1-800 numbers that you would call if you wanted to trade stock. You could do it on the phone. That was like a total 90s thing.
Yeah, and I've never really had a stock broker, like a human being that I've talked to. Like,
you know what else? You know what else they do a lot in The Sopranos? A lot of usage of payphones. You see a lot of payphones being used, and I can tell you as somebody who lived in that era, payphones were used all the way up until about the year 2000.
Yeah, I can co-sign on that one. Tell you what else is all over the place is the old cordless phone.
Cordless. Oh, yeah.
Not the same as a cellular phone. Yeah.
You pull out
Yeah, some of them have the retractable antenna, or some of them have that little thick stubby one. But if you're out by the pool, someone brings you the phone and there's a call for you and you talk on your cordless phone.
Dude, that was the height of luxury living back in 1992. You're sitting in your backyard, somebody come running out of the house with the phone all the way in the backyard. Unheard of.
Yeah, right. It's an amazing phone you got there. Just look at the range on it. I could take this thing to basically anywhere but my parents' house and it'll work. That's how that works. So there's also a phenomenon that it's kind of recently been extinguished, but it was everywhere all of our entire lives until about 10 years ago, and that's the indoor cigarette. Because we know it's been banned from restaurants, it's been banned from bars, but people smoking in their house, people smoking in the back room at the Bada Bing, people smoking in the pool room, people smoking, everywhere. People smoking in your office. You smoke in your
living room. People's living room with just a full ashtray on the coffee table. Ashtrays in every room.
Ashtrays. Listen, think of how weird this is, because this was normal when I was a kid, because my grandmother's car had an ashtray in the back seat in the door, like in the little thing where you shut the door, you could flip up a lid and ash your cigarette there.
It's probably used too. Somebody used it once, and you're playing with it as a kid, sticking your gum in there.
Yeah, I stuck gum in there. That's about it. Not a whole lot of cigarettes when I was 9, but the indoor cigarette is just unheard of these days. Like, even if you're a smoker yourself, you don't smoke in your
living room. You don't smoke in your house. People don't smoke in their own house.
Even smokers.
Gross people do.
Yes, they do exist.
It is kind of like gross people who still smoke. Like, you ever walk into somebody's house, dude? You walk in. When I was working at the restaurant years ago, when I was back in Chicago, and I used to have to take food, I'd go on food deliveries, deliver pizzas and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you get to see people's houses, huh? What a social awakening that is,
dude. I can tell you that if you are a woman living alone over the age of 65, your apartment smells like cat piss and cigarettes. I mean, it's older. It's the older generation who still smokes in their house. Like if they've been smoking since 1950, like that's when they first started smoking. If they started smoking in 1950, they are still smoking in their house. And it is unbelievable how bad that smells. And if you go back just a couple of decades, everything smelled like that. And we didn't even notice because everything smelled like that. Everything smelled like stale, gross cigarettes. Everything.
I remember, look, dude, when I was 7, I got on a plane to Denver and people smoked on the airplane.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're at 30,000 feet in an aluminum tube filled with highly flammable jet fuel. Smoke them up.
Right?
That just seems like the worst idea.
Yeah, and I'm like 7 sitting next to a stranger that's smoking, right?
Let's fill this aluminum tube with highly flammable jet fuel and then let people smoke inside of it.
I'm amazed at the indoor cigarette. But you're right. It was so ubiquitous, you didn't even notice. Yeah, of course, when you come home from the bar, you smell like smoke. Duh, that's what the bar is. Don't be an idiot. Something else you'll notice if you watch Sopranos now, but this wasn't true when you watched it the first time. Everything is right at half price. Whatever you think that hamburger he's about to pay for it, it's going to be half price. Yeah, the prices in 1999 are almost just to the letter 50% of what they are now.
I hate that because I lived in 1999 and I thought prices were expensive then. You know what I mean?
Well, they were compared to 1980.
There was never, first of all, there was never a time, okay, regardless of what all the old heads tell you after a couple of beers, there was never a time in the 1970s, in the 1980s, in the 1960s, or God forbid, I'm telling some truths here about the 1950s. There was never a time in our nation's history where people went, man, isn't shit going great? No, there was no such thing as the good old days. There was always problems. Life was always going to hell in a bucket. That phrase, life's going to hell in a bucket, that wasn't invented in 2010. That's not from some hip hop album. That's like from the 1920s. So, the idea that things were better, they weren't better back then. They were just a different kind of irritation.
No, I love what you're saying now because the lesson from your little diatribe, and you're correct, is to look at today and be like, no, we're not going to hell in a handbasket. You better enjoy it. All right.
Yeah.
You ungrateful punk.
Like you always say, the best entertainment options, the best food options, the best, shelter from storm options. Everything is better today than it's ever been.
Like, I can't speak for me or you, Pugs, but for the guy listening to us, your life right now is better than a king's life would be just 200 years ago. A millionaire, billionaire, whatever you want to say, the rich baron. Yeah, it's better.
No, your life is not. See, this is not going to push back. Your life, my life, currently is not better than Louis XII's life, just some random medieval king. It's just not.
It is.
It's not. It's not. He gets,
Okay,
he gets like 100 like really smoking girls paraded in front of him every morning when he wakes up. I mean, there's so many better things about his life that.
Look, here's the bad news. When you're going through 100 chicks, they don't have penicillin, bro. So you're really playing with fire. Yeah, look,
Calvin. Your expectation is that you're going to die by 35 anyway. So.
Yeah, well, Calvin Coolidge, his son, while he was in office, his son was 16 years old. They were playing tennis on the lawn. They had a grass court like Wimbledon, and his son had just got some new shoes and he got a blister on his toe. That blister got infected, and the sitting president of the United States' son died of blood sepsis because an infection ran rampant because we didn't have penicillin. We didn't have jack squat. That's how bad it was. And this is the 1920s. This is 100 years ago. So a blister on your foot gets out of control and you die. That's not a thing now. You can have 6 my dad's had like 4 heart attacks and a stroke and a half or something.
Right? You survive heart attacks now. You don't die.
No, and he's not the president's son either. He's a retired postman. All right.
I'm sorry. I wanted to make a mention that somebody in the chat room said it. I think it was Ross who said it earlier. One of the things from today that, and I don't even know if we'd say it's from today because it might be from yesterday. This may have already moved past. He mentioned tattoos. Tattoos are definitely not as popular now among young people as they were just 5-10 years ago. Heavily tattooed people are going to be symbolic of a generation. Because my generation, Gen X, isn't heavily tattooed. Not the way, like if you're maybe a little bit younger than you, maybe even like 5 years younger than you, James.
Oh,
That
I'm the only one
generation
of my friends that's not covered in tattoos.
tattoo, yeah,
It's
that's
about
really a
from
thing.
here me down. It's just
Yeah.
tattoos, and yeah,
I
until
think
you get to about 20-year-olds.
my 13-year-old thinks tattoos are gross. Like there is no, so I'm thinking like maybe his generation doesn't feel the same way about tattoos as maybe my
I always
generation.
look
Tattoos in the 1980s. If you had a tattoo in the 1980s, you were either an ex-con, a merchant marine, or some kind of a
a
very
bad
dangerous
motor scooter.
a
Yes.
very dangerous individual. And then all of a sudden in the 80s, soccer moms or in the 90s, soccer moms started getting tattoos. So it
Yeah,
changed,
yeah.
you know.
When Tiffany from Plano West gets a dolphin tattoo on her shoulder, it takes the sting out of it. All
Mm,
right, I have some questions though, because I don't
okay.
know if this was a 90s thing and I miss it, or if this is a Northeast cultural thing, like a New Jersey kind of I don't know, Italian thing. This is a very, very Italian show. Uh,
Yes.
do people really go to saunas? Is that a
Yes.
thing, or was that a thing? I don't think that's still a thing.
Yes, it is. In big cities, it is. Especially in
That's
Chicago, we have the Turkish baths that are really popular. A lot
the
of
hell's a
big
Turkish bath?
anywhere where there's a big Russian community, you'll find it's a heavy, heavy part of Russian culture where men get steam baths and
Well, they don't.
they
The
do
Turks and Russians haven't historically gotten along.
well. They're Russian. They are frequented by Russians and they are known as Turkish baths. I
Okay.
don't know much more, James, other than I have been famously in the Blues Brothers. There's a scene in the Blues Brothers at one of Chicago's Turkish baths where they broker the deal. You know the scene where they're all wearing towels in the sauna, and then the Blues Brothers are wearing their suits underneath the towels. Anyway, but yeah, so they're a real thing. They're a real thing, and especially Eastern European and Jewish communities.
Okay, now Brady is hinting at something I mean, I kind of hypothesize, but I have no evidence behind it. He says it just isn't a Southern thing. And I can imagine why saunas would be less popular down here where it's 104 degrees today.
Yeah,
And, we don't even really have winter. So I can understand the appeal of sauna if you live up north and it's been snow on the ground for 4 months. But man, I don't go to saunas. I've never been to my parents have never been to a sauna.
I
I mean,
have.
I don't want to say never been to a sauna, but they don't go to saunas. The little sauna I experienced have been a novelty. I'm in some expensive hotel and they got a sauna. It's like, let's go to the sauna. I can maybe see my wife in a towel. That'll be hot. So that was one. And the other one, the other big question I had, I don't know if this is a 90s thing. Did we really wear tracksuits that much? Or was that just like the Italians in New York? Like, did anyone wear tracksuits that much in the 90s? I remember them being kind of popular, but not that freaking popular.
I'll tell you what that is. What you're talking about is the representation of the tracksuit as it's featured on middle-aged mafioso types. So the guys that are wearing the tracksuits are all men in their 40s and 50s who are gentlemen of leisure, if you will. Right. So that's you. Right. That's what you're talking about. Tracksuits, those kinds of tracksuits were big in the 80s when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, we wore those tracksuits. Run DMC made them really popular in the 80s. And
Remember
then,
that?
yeah, and we all wore them. If you were my generation, Gen X, you had multiple different zip up Adidas tracksuits, Puma, whatever they were. So when you are seeing them on display in 1999, on The Sopranos. These are just guys who started wearing tracksuits in the 80s when they were like, and never stopped. That's what that's about. The mafioso wearing the tracksuit. It's because they've been wearing it since the 1980s when they were teenagers and it was popular. So the mafioso in the tracksuit became popular 2000, 2010. It's
Man, looking back,
like people who never get a different haircut. Right, a guy like dudes who've like got a haircut they liked in 1991, and
yeah,
it's
like if
it's
you're
still
50 and you got a flat top.
it's the
Yeah,
same haircut. It's like
yeah.
30 years later. Yeah,
So let me just go ahead and put a little post-it note on this fashion note. That's a bad look. Let's
the
not go back to
tracksuit.
the tracks. Yeah, that's not cool. Look, if you're like about to go run track, cool. If you're going to be on stage singing My Adidas or You Be Illin' or whatever, okay, you can get away with it. But
At
if you're
14, I liked it. At 14, 1985, somewhere in
children can
there.
wear it, sure.
Yeah.
But if you're like a 45, 50-year-old man and you kind of got a little bit of gray hair and it just makes you look like put on a real jacket or
Can I give you I agree with you for the most
the
part,
feeling is it's animals for adults.
but do you
And
know who brought the tracksuit back also in the mid to late 90s, not just the mafioso types that you're describing, but this genre brought the tracksuit back. And
Blacks,
I thought, okay,
hip hop.
no, Britpop, Oasis, with all of their soccer zip ups that they used to wear. Remember, they started zippering them all the way up
No,
to the
don't give that
top.
to Oasis. No,
No,
no.
that's well, no, but Britpop made that part of the uniform between like 1996 and 1999, wearing a tracksuit, wearing a soccer kit, or a zip up
I
pre-made.
saw them wearing jackets, but I didn't see them wearing the pants, and that's a different look. And that's what bothers me is when your pants and your jacket are obviously like some part of a uniform. It, like I said, it looks like animals
Okay,
for
so
adults.
you don't like the full. Okay, you're right. So maybe they were wearing jeans, right?
Yeah,
Jeans
so I
and
like
zip
jeans.
up
Like
and-
if you have a black Adidas jacket with the 3 stripes down the arm,
yeah,
but you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt or some other shirt,
it's a good
that's
look.
not the same thing. It's a good look.
It's a good look.
And
Yeah.
I like that look. I'm okay with that look. I just don't like the whole suit. It looks like a Halloween costume almost, or
All
like
right, I got you.
what are you working at Champs in your
Especially
free
if you're
time?
like, 350 pounds, right? Like big pussy, always walking around in his.
You know what? That's a great complaint because, dude, why are you wearing athletic clothes? You're clearly not athletic. You hadn't jogged in 3 decades.
Comfortable.
Track,
It's hard to bend. It's hard to do all that stuff when you're that size.
elastic waistband.
It's just more comfortable.
That's really one of the big turning points on fashion. Like if you're doing something athletic or working in the yard or whatever, I'm not going to bust your balls. But if you're going to go out in public and try and look like a decent human being and you have an elastic waistband, you lose points. It's not
These rules. You need to write these down. These are Florida stories. You ought to just have James rules.
James rules.
James
Well,
rules of order.
these are just my observations from watching The Sopranos 20 years late.
Mm.
All right.
All right. Any other questions on that?
Nope. But I do have some one more social commentary thing.
Please.
Okay. So I have 4 children and they all go to the same school system, although they're in different buildings. I live in a small town and they're all basically adjacent to each other. It's a tiny town. It's whatever. But we had to meet your teachers day. So we had to go meet the teachers for all 4 of our kids, right? So when you go to elementary school, let me just say that the town I live in, there's whites, blacks, Mexicans. That's it.
Whites, blacks, Mexicans.
That's it. I don't want to say we don't have diversity. There's diversity, but it's not that diverse. We don't have Indians.
You got the big 3. Yeah, you're.
Hey, it's just like the school I grew up in: whites, blacks, and Mexicans in almost equal proportions. Although this school that my kids are going to is a little more white than my school, and it's majority white. But one thing I've noticed, and this my complaint here is specifically for white people, is the ridiculous names they're giving their kids. Because black people get a lot of grief for naming their kids Barkevius or Quantavius or Chandrika or Sharkeisha or whatever. But white people are doing this thing that drives me kind of nuts. Number one, like half the names rhyme. There's like a Peyton, Jayton, Braden, Caden. There's all those, right? Mm-hmm. There's Addison, Madison, Jaddison. They all seem to rhyme. But the point, the wound I want to dig in white culture today is this trend where white people a few years ago started naming their kids last names. Their first name is a last name. And my name kind of what? You want to come in here for this? I'm making fun of our kids' classmates' names. I wrote down a bunch in my phone when we were going around at the Meet Your Teachers today, and we're going to bag on a bunch of 7-year-olds, okay? Sorry, wife walked in. Okay, so let me give you an example here. And look.
Now, these are primarily white kids. This is white rural culture names that you're giving us? Or
yes, this is quite rural. And I don't know that these kids are white, but when I tell you these names, you're going to be like, yeah, these kids are white.
Okay.
There she is. Hey, what's up? Because black people aren't doing this and Mexicans aren't doing this. And these are the only 3 cultures I was exposed to in mass today, right? And I saw a lot of Mexican names, but no Mexican is naming their kid Hernandez. They're not giving them a last name first. They're not naming him Garcia. Right. There you go. You got it right.
This is my son, Garcia Perez.
Right.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Damn it. So look, my name's James Parker. And there have been I feel sort of responsible for this because that sort of kicked it off. There was Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and then there's also
Yeah.
Parker Posey. So in the 90s, that sort of kernel, that
Parker
seed was
Stevenson.
planted in the lower white culture where it's like, if you want to be cool, let's give our kid a last name for his first name. And so that's my white voice, by the way. So let me give you some examples. When I went to my daughter, she's going into second grade now. When I went to her first class, it was like half last names. I'm like, oh, damn, I got to tell Pugs about this. This is going to be great.
And this is your daughter, Buttercup Parker, that we're talking about here?
Right. Her name's Quinn. Which is that a first name or a last name? Did I do it? Because my sister did it. My sister named one of her kids Hudson. I'm like, oh, damn.
Did it. You totally did it. Quinn is a last name.
Is Quinn a last name?
Yes.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
Dude, yes. And I'm Irish. I know half a dozen Quinns. It's a very Irish last name.
All right, so I did it too.
I've got a Mason, so
Yeah. All right. So there was this dude. These were all from one class. Okay. And this is the only one I could do because they had the name on the desk already. And so when I went to the older kids class, I didn't even get to know all the names, but I bet I could replicate this. So in just one class, there's a Harper.
Is that a girl? Gotta be. It's gotta be a girl.
Yeah. Now I'm aware that Harper Lee exists and wrote To Kill a Mockingbird.
Adorable name for a little girl. I totally approve of that name.
Griffin.
Stupid.
Cooper.
Boring. It's like,
see, the thing that bothers me about Cooper is it's definitively a last name because it's an occupation. A Cooper is a barrel maker. And so in medieval times, it's John the Cooper, or this is Michael the Cooper, or, whoever the Cooper. And so clearly that's not a first freaking name. That's someone's profession.
Probably hasn't been okay, go ahead. It's not the 1300s where you have to be named after your profession. Okay, this was just.
I know, but look, how many names are like that?
The origin of that name
Weaver,
does come
Miller,
from the trades. Yes.
Right. Yeah. All right. So another one, Davis, not David, Davis. Which Davis, it leans last name, doesn't it?
Davis is very last name, Davis. Yeah, but I have heard of some I know the name Davis. Davis. There's an athlete named Davis. I don't know. Anyway,
probably.
I have heard of it as a first name.
Probably a white dude. There's Hadley. In fact, I saw two Hadleys.
Davis Mills, quarterback for the Houston Texans. Davis Mills.
Oh, they have a quarterback? I didn't even know that.
Starting quarterback. They got to replace Deshaun Watson. Davis Mills is the starter.
Oh, what happened to him? Something happened to him?
Something happened to him. And he's a white guy. Davis Mills is a white guy. Oh, I think. I don't know.
If his name's Davis, he's a white guy. Okay.
I said it. No, I don't know.
No, he is. Dude, it's a last name as a first name. It's a white guy. The next one, Hadley. There was two Hadleys. Two Hadleys, bro. Two. Deacon.
Okay. All right. You stay close to okay. So you're not going necessarily biblical, but you are staying close to it's a role. It's a position in the church. Okay.
It's a last name.
Definitely is a last name for sure.
This one's kind of iffy. So if you want to push back on this one, this is the softest one on the list, but Hunter. Okay. Hunter Biden, 50 something years old. So was it a pre-existing first name? Maybe.
Yes, it was. No, it was. It was. Okay. But not to the extent that it is today. It's very common today. Hunter, Fisher, these names. Sailor. Oh God.
Dude, are you seeing what the people are typing over here in the comments? Chase and Jace, Preston, tragedy. What? Okay. The next one, Reagan.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
I've seen it quite a bit lately, but there was no one named Reagan. I guess there was a Reagan when I was growing up. There was one white girl named Reagan when I was going to Chapel Hill.
There was one very famous Reagan, Linda Blair in The Exorcist. The girl who's possessed by the devil is Reagan. That's her name, Reagan, and that's years before Ronald Reagan.
And what color is she, Bugs?
She's a white lady. She was a white girl.
She's half white, half demon. Peyton. Peyton is the last name that's been converted recently to a first name.
It's been around. It's there are a couple of spellings, and it depends on where the origin of Peyton comes from. But we're talking about both Walter Payton and Peyton Manning, and the people. Like I know a number of people dudes from my generation, especially in the Midwest, named a lot of their sons Peyton, P-A-Y.
Because Walter Payton.
Walter Payton. There's also a lot of daughters, a lot of girls, running around out there named Peyton because you can't name a little girl Butkus. So, that would be a rough one.
I'll tell you what.
But PEY is one that we're seeing more recently, and
this was a PEY.
We're seeing PEY more in the South, and that's more directly related to Peyton Manning as opposed to Walter Payton.
All right, that's weird. All right, there was along that line. Let me just get to the next one. Corbin.
That's a little fat kid. What are you going to name your kid Corbin for? Oh, Corbin got picked last again, right? I mean, look, Corbin is not going to be the coolest dude in the school. Corbin, no one named, that's a terrible name, Corbin.
I don't know. It might be a very cool kid. And remember, you're bagging on a 7-year-old right now.
1 in a million Corbins turn out to be Corbin Burnson. And it's the only Corbin we know. A handsome actor guy.
What was that, from LA Law, that dude?
LA Law, but also from Major League, the movie Major League.
Oh, right. Yeah. He was the one that didn't die for the catch. Yeah.
He was the aging star who was good looking. And 1 in a million turn out to be Corbin Burnson. All the rest are just Corbins. Totally.
I would like to thank Jeff Ballard for doing a little bit of research legwork. He said he just Googled blacks with the first name Davis and nothing popped up. So definitely a white name.
Davis, definitely a white guy's name. All right, what else you got? Got any other good ones?
Well, see, Brady is hitting on what I started with. He says he's seen a lot of affluent white moms using Bailey, Ashley, Haley, Brinley. Yeah, and he says it's like the Dens of 10 years ago. Well, the Dens were pretty strong. Braden, Jaden, Caden, all that stuff. That's still there.
Yeah. There's what is the name? What is the name that has absolutely exploded, especially in the black community, and they traced it all the way back to the ground zero. It is the name Jalen. But right now, if you look at professional sports, especially
Jalen Hurts, Jalen Rose was the first.
Jalen Rose from the University of Michigan is believed to be ground zero, the first famous Jalen, the Jalen that birthed a billion other Jalens. There are there was a joke last year. Somebody made the joke about Chicago Bears that they had 6 players in training camp named Jalen. 6 of them. There wasn't a Jalen on record before 1995, other than the guy who went on to play for the University of Michigan. And now Jalens are everywhere, whether it's Jaylan or J, all these different exotic spellings. Jalen. And Jalen Rose is ground zero for the name Jalen.
All right, so we still have no sign of Kelly, huh? That's disappointing. Here's something dumb that I just want to warn you about, because you're going to see this popping up. It hadn't made it to the outside world yet, but I just lived in New Orleans for 16 years, and there is an unreal number of kids named Saint.
Saint?
They're fans of the Saints, and they name their kids Saint.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I have seen with my own eyes 5 different kids named Saint.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they're...
I knew a guy who was named, his birth name was Bear. His parents named because of the Chicago Bears. His name was Bear. Yeah. It's like his real name, his birth name.
You're playing with fire right there, because what if he grows up to be gay? He's just like, what are you, Bear? Oh, it means something different now, doesn't it? A totally different meaning in this community. Oh, no. I thought you liked football.
All right. What else you got? Anything else?
No, those were just my social airing of grievances between the Sopranos and the stupid names. And
all right. Well, you came loaded for bear. You had stuff. I had a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't get into, but that's okay. I did want to mention this. There is a new... I don't know what your feelings on Vice are. I have very complicated feelings towards the media entity known as Vice. I hate them with a passion, but yet I also think that they do some admirable stuff.
They used to do amazing stuff where they're like, we went to Somalia, or no, we went to Yemen and went skateboarding and put a bunch of cat in our cheek.
They've been pretty much, they've been milking the stuff they did in the first 3 years for the past 5. Anyway, they do nice television production. I don't know if you've ever seen their series. What was it called? Dark Side of the Ring. Have you ever seen that? And then they did another one, Dark Side of the 90s. So Dark Side of the Ring is like, it's a season of 10 episodes, and each episode is just another really tragic story about some shit that went haywire with WWE. Some kind of wrestling terrible story or event.
There's a lot of those.
It's very interesting. Yes, it's a great show. Dark Side of the 90s is another one that they did. Well, they've got a new one that's coming out here in the next couple of weeks. It's called Dark Side of Comedy. And basically, it's giving the WWE treatment to stand-up comedians who have been involved in either really some dark shit. Really. So what I wanted to do, we don't have time to do it now, but I wanted to go through some of the people that they're going to be focusing on. And just let me rattle some of these off to you right now in the minutes that we have left. You tell me if you can remember what their problem is. Like, what is this episode going to be about? Okay. So I'll throw you the name of the celebrity, the comedy, the stand-up comedian, and you tell me what their deal is. All right. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I got a pop up here. Again, this is Dark Side of Comedy. It is airing as it stands. Vice's 10-episode compendium is a cautionary tale. It's full of archival clips, but shockingly light on humor, tackling its material in such ominous and melancholy fashion that the reasons for its stars renown. Okay, so it's dark. It's not like a comedy series. It's about comedy people being dark. Premiering on August 16th. Now, I don't know where this premieres because I've watched all of them on Hulu. So I don't know, is there a Vice network maybe it airs on first and then you can catch it on Hulu? But I watch all of these things on Hulu. So premiering August the 16th and narrated by Dave Foley. Oh, Dave Foley's great.
Kids and all.
Oh, God, I love Dave Foley.
Right.
Premiering August 16th and narrated by Dave Foley, Dark Side of Comedy delivers on its nominal promise, delving into the underbelly of its chosen showbiz field via installments on. All right, so here are the people they will be focusing on. Chris Farley.
Okay, yeah.
It's sad dark.
That's got to be in there, yeah. Richard Pryor's got to be in there. I don't want to spoil the list, but
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, okay.
Shit got really dark for Andrew Dice Clay. A lot of people don't know about this. But if you remember how big Andrew Dice Clay was, and then how Andrew Dice Clay was gone from everywhere for like
he never existed. It's like white people with pumpkin spice on January 1st. They're like, what? Yes, I never heard of that. Yeah.
No, it was, shit got dark for him. So I imagine that's going to be Freddie Prinze. Freddie Prinze is going to be featured on the Dark Side Comedy. Do you know
Freddie Prinze Jr.'s dad, I guess? I don't know this dude.
Oh, really? Are you kidding?
I don't know his story.
Like
no.
Crosby, Stills, and you don't know he died. Freddie Prinze was like the biggest comedian in the world for like 6 months, and then he put a gun to his head and blew his head off because he couldn't handle being the most famous guy on the planet for like 6. Chico and the Man. You've never seen Chico and the Man?
I've heard of it, but no. I don't.
Okay. Well,
I'm hearing this all for the first time. So yeah, sorry.
So this is Freddie Prinze Jr. Again, we went into the juniors and the seniors. Freddie Prinze Jr. is a junior because Freddie Prinze was a very big, famous comedian. And I mean, like, we're talking like a guy that like Pryor was like, oh yeah, Freddie Prinze is the best comedian out there. And then 19 years old, he came out of nowhere. He was 19 years old doing Tonight shows, had the #1 situation comedy on television, was touring major like concert hall, massive, good looking. I mean, everybody loved him, dating supermodels, eats a bullet. So that'll be an interesting one, especially if you don't know. Greg Giraldo, friend of the Pugs and Kelly show.
Oh man, dude, we met that guy how many times?
Greg Giraldo was a regular. I loved Greg. Greg used to disappear. Greg was the guy who went to Harvard, I believe it was Harvard, got himself a law degree, went to work on Wall Street, was making like big Wall Street Ivy League lawyer money, and then said, I'm going to stop this because I want to do stand-up comedian. And wham, bam, became one of the funniest stand-up comedians of his era. I will die on that hill. Greg Giraldo, if you go back and you watch those Greg Giraldo, you remember the Comedy Central roasts?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, his stand-up specials were incredible. Like the one-night stands that he would do, him riffing in studio was hilarious.
He used to hang out with us. So we used to run around with him, and he used to disappear. So I always knew that for all of these incredible things about him, the Ivy League education, the Wall Street, and there was something that he was disappearing for. You know what I mean?
Chasing a demon, yeah.
He would disappear. Where'd Greg go? I don't know. He just Houdini'd. Brett Butler. Brett Butler is going to be featured. Do you remember Brett Butler?
I do not.
You remember Brett Butler? She had a TV show.
Oh, the blonde lady.
Brett Under Fire. Wasn't that what it was called? Was it called Brett Under Fire?
She was all right. She had the Southern accent, that one.
Crazy. She went crazy. She lost her mind. That's why she was like a big TV star and her show was a big hit. And then she went, she like went all Anne Heche and she lost her TV show and everything and disappeared. All right, there you go. That's it. Those are the people who will be featured.
Whoa. They're not doing Bill Cosby? They're not doing Richard Pryor?
Too soon. Pryor is also in here, yeah, but you mentioned Pryor, so I skipped over him.
Okay.
They're also going to talk about Artie Lang. All right, yeah, I'll give you a couple more. Artie Lang, obviously. That's there's some dark stories to be told there about
Mitch Hedberg.
Artie Lang. No Mitch Hedberg. No,
okay.
no Mitch Hedberg.
That's a right field to be planting your seeds in is crazy comedians.
Maria Bamford. Did you know Maria Bamford?
No.
I love Maria Bamford. She is one of the great female comics of the past 30 years. Also, highly unstable. Very, voices in her head.
Dude,
and,
just from
all her life, in and out. She's
just for people who've been on the show. They could do one on Charlie Murphy. They could do one on Robert Schimmel. They could do one on Sean Rouse.
Sean Rouse and Robert Schimmel, they weren't as tragic as they were just sad.
Dark dudes, though, man.
Dark dudes going through stuff, Can't really blame them. All right. There was a whole bunch of, we're fine. We got stuff. Look, just James and me talking for an hour every night. He's gone? What a dick. Tip the show if you can. I'd appreciate that. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow at noon. Okay? Tomorrow at noon for high noon topics, trends, current events, all that stuff. If it's happening in the world tomorrow at noon, I'm going to be talking about it. So get yourself a little cheat sheet for your day. Appreciate you. And that's it. I'm going to go. I got to let the dog in. The dog is barking. Oh, God, what an a-hole. Bye, everybody.
Yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I have got an old guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401, I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.